Coming up on tonight's broadcast, greening the OSU campus, a spike in tuition costs, and a potential ceasefire in Gaza. All that and more right here on KBVR News.
Good evening and welcome to your Monday night edition of the Beaver News. We're glad to have you with us. I'm Hayden Wilcox.
And I'm Cassady Gilroy. Oregon State University is attempting to go greener than ever before in the coming years. As reported by James Shreve of The Barometer, OSU will be joining 32 other universities this week in the so-called Green Challenge, an effort to raise $1 billion in order to upgrade sustainable energy sources. Already, over $65 million have been raised collectively. Brandon Trellstad, OSU's University Sustainability Coordinator, said that OSU's contribution will be increased to over $1 million in the next 4 years. OSU already heavily contributes to making the Earth a green-friendly environment. Last year marked the completion of the $55 million Energy Center, which is the first platinum-rated power facility in the nation. Additionally, OSU has also been designated a campus sustainability leader by the Sustainable Endowments Institute, who is also sponsoring the Green Challenge. Trellstad's goal is to make the campus climate neutral by 2025, and he said, quote, "The Green Challenge is a step in the right direction. The university can accomplish these goals with the support of other institutions, and mainly with the support of our student body that has already done so much."
In case you missed it, months of collaboration between the OSU Symphony, LaSalle Stewart Center, and the OSU Theater Department came together yesterday to present a wonderful Harry Potter-themed event. The event, Halloween with Harry Potter, was a non-profit performance dedicated to the books that defined a generation. With help from local businesses, the event evolved to Diagon Alley-themed fair, followed by a concert symphony based on the original works of Robin Williams, composer of the soundtracks for the movies. As reported by the Daily Barometer's Amanda Entel, the event was organized by Aaron Sneller, head of publicity and coordinator of the OSU Music Department, who said that the event was created purely for the fun of it and that it was designed to unite a community under the common love for Harry Potter. Music was provided by the OSU Orchestra, whose professors were skeptical about the project at first, but after listening to the soundtrack, they were convinced. Aaron Sneller explained, quote, "The orchestra prefers the classical music repertoire, but after the success of Chris Brody and hearing the Harry Potter soundtrack, the orchestra professors were all for it," end quote. The event even had a place for the drama department, who helped set off the event with character work designed to set the mood of the event.
Finding it difficult to access some buildings due to disability, the Able Student Alliance has your back. As reported by the Barometer, the ASA has identified some key areas that need to be addressed for disabled students to comfortably access campus and especially the residence halls. Jeffrey Evans, the head of the OSU Able Student Alliance, stated that the three most important components of a residence hall that the ASA looks into are the rooms themselves, the common areas of the building, and the routes from the hall to the rest of campus. He added that over $60 million have been spent since 1998 to improve facilities and building accessibility. He also said, quote, "In addition to our annual upgrades, we also provide for specific accommodation requests for our residents, such as unique modifications to bathrooms and installation of additional power for respiratory equipment. This ensures that all students have access to programs, service, and activities in on-campus housing."
In response to the now international Occupy movement, which started last month in New York with Occupy Wall Street, students and faculty here at OSU created a teach-in session to help students learn about the meaning of the protest. As reported by the Barometer's James Shreve, the teach-in happened last Thursday in preparation for Halloween's Occupy OSU and consisted of several speakers of both staff and graduate students alike. The speakers, which included Occupy Corvallis member Lisa Gonzalez, philosophy professor Tony Vogt, English graduate Michelle Zeller, internal student government supporter Farbad Ganjafard, and women's studies graduate Rachel Binker, praised everything about the movement from its commitment to nonviolence to the creation and preservation of miniature communities. Guests also included graduate student Thomas McElnany, who participated in the Occupy Portland movement earlier this month, and Dr. Eric Cocker, PhD of Student Health. Professor Vogt explained the essence behind the movement, quote, "The idea behind Occupy Wall Street was to bring people together and not just protest, but in recognition of all the things that they themselves could do as individuals to help shape their world. This would also take the form of general assemblies, which are gatherings in which everyone attending proposes ideas, a discussion ensues, and consensus is reached," end quote. And Dr. Eric Cocker's closing statements left students to consider the real power of this kind of grassroots movement. Quote, "There is a dividing line in our society where we don't think that we are a part of it. The government is above us, then you have corporations, and then you have people. The more they have a voice, the less we have a voice. It needs to be a we society, not a me society."
Gill Coliseum was full of energy on Saturday night for OSU's volleyball team as they dominated the University of Utah. Currently ranked 8th in the Pac-12, OSU is on a 3-game winning streak and managed to take down of Utah in 3 straight sets. The scores were 25-12, 25-18, and 25-15. Head coach Terry Liskovich is confident in his team, which consists of only 1 senior and 8 freshmen. He attributed Saturday's game to, quote, "a lot of energy, enthusiasm, and that's the key. We have to bottle our energy. That's the way we have to play, with passion and enthusiasm," end quote. OSU now looks to face off against both University of Arizona and Arizona State on the 4th and 5th of November, respectively. This will be the second time OSU will meet them this season, having previously beaten Arizona State 3-2 and lost to University of Arizona 3-1.
The OSU Cascade campus will be getting a new building soon thanks to an $800,000 donation by local business leader Alan Bruckner. The building, previously used for office space, will be remodeled to fit classroom needs and should be running as early as spring term. The original price tag for the building, $3.88 million, was lowered thanks to the generous donation from Mr. Bruckner and was complemented by the $2 million lottery bond approved and given to OSU by the Oregon legislature last June. As reported by the university, the campus itself is rapidly growing, with enrollment increase of 10% over the past year. As of now, the campus houses 750 juniors, seniors, and graduate students. Alan Bruckner, along with being a local business leader, has also served as the city commissioner in 1988 and was elected mayor in 1992, so he knows of the importance of a strong school system in a town. He explains, quote, "Almost everyone agrees that the #1 priority for a strong community is an educated populace. Bend has a fine public school system, a well-established and outstanding community college, and an emerging university deserves to, and needs a greater support."
Oregon State University's women's soccer team scored big yesterday against the California Golden Bears. The Barometer reports that after a close loss Friday against Stanford with a score of 1-2, OSU started off slow against University of California, Berkeley, who the Beavers have not beaten since 1995. This losing streak was broken yesterday as OSU pulled through with a convincing 3-0 win. Linus Rode, the head coach, commented, quote, "A loss like Stanford takes a lot out of the players, both physically and mentally, and to be able to come back like that on Sunday and play the way we did was fun to watch and shows we have a lot of character." OSU's women's soccer is currently ranked 3rd in the Pac-12 and will play their final game of the season against University of Oregon on the 4th of November. We're taking a quick break, but we'll be back with your national stories as well as a weather update. Stay tuned.
Pants, pants, pants. I am folding the pants. The pants are long. Do they go on my head? Do they? Do the pants go on my head? No. They go on
Everyday moments can become teaching moments because learning starts long before school does. Give your child the start they need at bornlearning.org.
So you can't save money? That's easy as pie. Brown bagging lunch instead of going out. $6 save times 5 days a week times 10 years is $21,000. That's a lot of lettuce. Small changes today, big bucks tomorrow. Feedthepig.org.
Hair loss. Now this rash on my face, what's going on?
For answers, ask your doctor the right question.
Could I have lupus?
got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We're going to beat them and bust them. Beat them.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life.
Let's get a little bit rowdy. R-O-W-D-Y.
Take time to be a dad
One more
today.
time. Oh, those boys are much too much. Those boys.
When I have an asthma attack, I feel scared. Sometimes my parents have to take me to the hospital. I feel like a fish with no water.
You know how to react to their asthma attacks. Here's how to prevent them. Call 1-866-NO-ATTACKS. Visit www.noattacks.org or call your doctor. Because even one attack is one too many.
Horseradish. Is that for horses? Remember me, Mr. Lobster? From last Tuesday? Banana. 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 Here comes the rain. We need a hat. And why do we need a hat? They dry. That's right.
When you talk with your child, you build vocabulary, and learning starts long before school does. For more tips, go to bornlearning.org.
Welcome back to the Beaver News, live here on Channel 26. The hugely popular Netflix is hurting this week due to a dramatic stock drop over the past month. Netflix, the massive DVD by mail and internet media streamer, has recently split its combined price of $8.99 for unlimited movies and TV shows per month into two separate packages. That means that customers will now have to either cough up an additional $8.99 to maintain both packages or be forced to choose either TV shows or movies. This price change caused Netflix to lose nearly 800,000 subscribers in this quarter alone, which in turn caused a 52% price drop in stocks for the company. As reported by CNN, Netflix has decided to raise prices because of increased cost of content licensing, and the price hike is necessary to keep up with demands. However, Netflix also says that the rise in price is part of their preparation to jump to an international market, starting with Europe. As of now, Netflix currently functions in the United States, Latin America, and Canada. Now the question remains, how much would you pay for unlimited movies and TV shows on demand?
According to CNN, 16 members of the New York Police Department have been indicted on charges of ticketing fraud last Friday. Considered as a, quote, highly organized, systematic misconduct, end quote, the scandal involved tampering with tickets that were given to the family and friends of the officers. The officers were indicted after a 3-year investigation. This is the second scandal to affect the NYPD in recent times. Last Tuesday, 12 people, including 5 active and 3 retired officers, were charged with conspiring to transport and distribute firearms and illegal goods. NYPD Commissioner Ray Kelly had this to say about the scandals. Quote, "It's difficult to have to announce for the second time this week that police officers have been arrested for misconduct. Their misdeeds tarnished the good name and reputation of the vast majority of police officers who perform their duties honestly and often at great risk to their own personal safety.
Halloween is here, and it's time to break out the decorations, the candy, and of course, the costumes. But if you're still looking for a costume idea for tonight, try considering the best-selling costume of the season, the self-proclaimed rock star from Mars, Charlie Sheen. It's no surprise that the X2.5 Men star has had his face immortalized in rubber masks because of his crazed antics this year, which have made him a pop culture icon. Other big sellers of the year include costumes inspired by Katy Perry, Lady Gaga, and the app phenomenon Angry Birds. As reported by CNN, combined sales of candy, costumes, and decorations are expected to reach $6.86 billion this year, a 9% increase in sales since Halloween season in 2010. Despite the recession, the average American is spending nearly $73 on Halloween equipment for the holiday. According to a survey by PriceGrabber, 48% of parents are still planning on buying their kid a new costume and only 24% say that they plan to make a new costume this year.
The effects of the so-called Occupy demonstrations hit close to home yesterday as authorities arrested protesters in Portland. As a response to the Occupy Wall Street demonstration currently ongoing in New York City, similar protests have been forming throughout the nation, including Oregon. A sizable group of protesters had gathered in a park in northwest Portland earlier in the day, and CNN reports that when warned that they had to leave the park because it was closing for midnight, more than 24 people refused and were subsequently arrested. Mayor Sam Adams said the protesters were given, quote, numerous opportunities to simply walk away or choose to be arrested. Tonight was, I think, an unnecessary confrontation that we worked really hard to minimize, end quote. Amongst the protests happening elsewhere in the nation, 38 people were arrested in Austin, Texas, Sunday, 24 in Nashville, Tennessee, Saturday, and more than 51 protesters were arrested in San Diego, California, last Friday. The protests originated in New York to speak out against corporate greed and the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Just because you've gotten into college doesn't mean you can stop paying attention to how much it costs. As reported by CNN, a new report on Wednesday showed a sudden 8.6% spike in tuition costs for the average public universities across the nation. On top of that, private school systems tuitions jumped 4.3%, and community colleges flared an 8.7% increase. The sharpest climb, however, went to California State University San Marcos, whose tuition climbed a staggering 31%. According to collegedata.com, the most expensive college in the nation, with a tuition cost of $15,320, is the University of New Hampshire, who experienced an 11.5% tuition increase. The study also showed that over the past year, at least 52% of all students attending four-year public colleges received a substantial scholarship or grant and did not end up having to pay for the full price of the college tuition. Sandy Baum, economist and author of the College Board's report, said, quote, college is more expensive this year than last, and it was probably going to get more expensive next year.
A deadly explosion occurred at a grain elevator in northeastern Kansas last Saturday, and CNN is reporting that 3 people were killed and an additional 2 people were hospitalized with burn injuries. Authorities are still investigating the cause of the incident, though they are speculating it was natural in nature. City officials stated under the right conditions, stored grain can create gases that lead to such explosions. 3 workers are currently unaccounted for as well. In their statement, city officials said, quote, rescue operations can be difficult because workers are often scattered throughout the facility, making them difficult to locate. The company, Bartlett Grain, operates a total of 18 grain elevators in the central United States and was investigated in the past for 2 accidents involving 2 individuals falling off a platform. The Department of Labor's Occupational Safety and Health Administration cited Bartlett Grain with 3 serious safety violations and fined them $5,000 for both incidents.
We've been hearing a lot from the Occupy movement with their We Are the 99% campaign, but recently a new group has appeared on the scene. Meet the 53%, as in the 53% of Americans that pay federal income taxes. Members of the 53% have been mocking the famed I Am the 99% mass media movement and have been criticizing members of the Occupy movement, arguing that protesters shouldn't be allowed government bailouts any more than the big companies should. As reported by CNN, the basis of the 53% movement comes from the fact that 53% of Americans who pay federal taxes are actually paying for the government assistance that protesters say they want. Members who support the 53% movement agree that they don't want members of the remaining 47% that don't pay those taxes making decisions that affect them. Kevin Ader, creator of the the 53% movement, said, quote, "I would never identify myself with those occupying Wall Street. The frustration was born out of people claiming to speak for me who don't," end quote. Many of the anti-protesters agree that members of the 99% should stop occupying Wall Street and start occupying a job. It's now time for a final break, but we'll have your international stories right here. You won't want to miss it.
When you open a book, you can explore new lands, make new friends, and discover new adventures. There are amazing possibilities when you open your mind to reading. Explore new worlds. Read.
Just put your hands up, TV land. Yo. Paradise is lost, I'm paralyzed by the imperative cause. She's sharing a coffin with the gods that I've crossed, and day by day I'm looking for another outlet. I shout, but I've yet to be heard. The fear of flying, broken wings of a bird. The feelings unnerved, absurd with my words. A pseudo-intellectual that's just dying to serve. A fallen angel, fate filled with flaws and misfortune. Claw marks on the side of the well. The people attempting to torture. Swords drawn to the necks of the demons. Another metaphor, me just trying to protect all my feelings. The criminal dealings led us to the brink that's demonic. Born an angel, but I'm bringing back a plate that's bubonic. A prophet like the narcotic product you got up in your pocket with more shock value than an electrical socket. The angel act, I dropped it like the sword of that dude Loki. So while you're on your deathbed, speak those words that you told me. Come on. You told me, you told me, you told me. You told me, you told me, you told me.
Heart disease must for 5,000 miles average.
If you're in danger of losing your home to foreclosure, call today, because nothing is worse than doing nothing.
Have a banana. Eating well and playing go together like best friends.
You better believe it.
With the food pyramid, the bare necessities of living healthy are easy.
Bare necessities, the simple bare necessities.
So eat right. Be active.
Now move. That's it.
And don't forget to have fun. That's the way to be the best.
You're lots of fun, Baloo.
At anything you do. You can go to mypyramid.gov to play some games and find out more.
Welcome back to the Beaver News right here on KBVR. Shocking reports from Switzerland show that scientists may have discovered particles that can travel faster than light. The European Organization for Nuclear Research, better known as CERN, conducted an experiment where 15,000 neutrinos were sent from the CERN research lab in Switzerland, 730 kilometers, to the Gran Sasso laboratory in Italy. The results of which show that the neutrinos arrived a fraction of a second faster than they should have, breaking all laws of nature and physics. As reported by CNN, physicists working on the project assure skeptics that every single measurement of distance and time was done with precision, and that the velocity of the neutrinos was 20 parts per million above the speed of light. The 150 members of the so-called Opera project have issued a challenge to scientists around the globe to either help prove or disprove the results gathered by the experiments. But if proven, this find could turn physics as we know it on its head. However, physicists on the project told CNN that several more trial runs need to be made before any real conclusion can be drawn. Head of particle physics at Oxford University, Dr. Neville Harnew, said, quote, "If this proves to be correct, then it will revolutionize physics as we know it."
Following devastating floods, relief agencies now fear water and insect-borne diseases in Thailand, reports CNN. The flooding, which were caused by unusually heavy monsoon seasons, has been steadily building since July and is now the worst flood since 1942. Thus far, more than 370 people have been killed, and over $6 billion in physical damage has been estimated. More than 1,700 shelters have been set up, and over 113,000 people have taken refuge. With the increased water levels come the increased risk of disease due to water pollution and increased levels of insect activity. Risks of diarrhea, dengue fever, and malaria have been elevated. UNICEF has already provided 20,000 mosquito nets and have been educating people on how to stay safe and healthy. The Red Cross, too, have been providing more than 130,000 relief kits and 120,000 packs of bottled water. But Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra is still worried, saying, quote, "Outside the city, it is certainly a humanitarian crisis because there are people who have been cut off for weeks without aid, supplies, or food."
In the wake of last week's news of the death of ex-Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi, new controversy has arisen. As reported by CNN, the family of Gaddafi has filed a war crimes complaint against NATO forces acting in Libya. NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, consisting of 28 countries, is a force dedicated to defense rather than offense. Under that code, any direct attack against an individual would be against regulations that NATO is based upon. Given this information, a French attorney representing the Gaddafi family insisted that NATO forces in Libya intentionally attacked the convoy in which Gaddafi was riding with an airstrike. NATO Ground Forces leader Lieutenant General Charles Bouchard argued that the convoy was a military target because they were carrying weaponry that could have posed a threat to civilians and that they had no idea Gaddafi was on board. Quote, "NATO did not get involved in anything that was beyond our legal mandate, and we remain well within the mandate assigned to us by the North Atlantic Council," end quote. Still, the family is taking NATO to ICC court in regard to the issue.
Amidst the chaos of a war-torn Syria, the Syrian government looks to rewrite a new constitution, reports CNN. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad announced earlier this month the formation of a committee that will draft the constitution within 4 months. This is widely seen as another attempt to help calm the protests. The uprising started on the 26th of January, which called for the reinstatement of civil rights and the end to the state of emergency, which has been in place since 1963. Thus far, hundreds of demonstrations have taken place. The Syrian government cracked down with military force and thousands of citizens have been killed and arrested. The UN and President Obama have called for Syria to stand down. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon reported Friday that more than 3,000 people have been killed since the start of the uprising and appealed for an end to military operations against civilians. The Arab League, an organization of 22 Arab states, also met directly with Syria's foreign minister to call for an end of violence against its people.
As the war between Israel and Palestine continues, news has arrived this week about a possibility of a ceasefire. The Palestinian group called Islamic Jihad has asked Egypt to broker a ceasefire agreement with Israel after events of this weekend. As reported by CNN, the group promises to, quote, "prevent every attempt to shoot at Israel," unquote. On Saturday, 10 people, including Islamic Jihad commanders and 7 militants, were killed when Israeli forces attacked a training camp in Rafah, Gaza. The attack was in response to a rocket attack from that area earlier that day. On Sunday, Palestinian rockets from Gaza continued to strike Israel, killing several civilians and thus prompting Israel to retaliate with an airstrike. In the wake of the airstrike, Israeli forces found and destroyed several suspected terror tunnels and terror activity sites. Hours after the attack, Islamic Jihad announced a ceasefire, which Israel did not immediately confirm.
As a result of the resolution of the Libyan uprising, NATO Secretary General Anders Fogh Rasmussen will declare an end of NATO's aid at midnight tonight, reports CNN. It will mark the end of a 7-month aerial bombing campaign which is implemented to aid rebels in removing Libya's former president Muammar Gaddafi. Secretary General Rasmussen applauded NATO's efforts, stating, quote, "We have been mandated by the United Nations Security Council to protect civilians, and that mission has been a great success. We have prevented a massacre. We have saved countless lives," end quote. The Pentagon, however, stated that even though formal NATO operations have ended, the United States will continue to watch over Libya due to concerns of the lingering presence of pro-Gaddafi elements. That's all the news we have for you tonight, but be sure to tune in tomorrow evening for a live coverage of the sentencing of impeached OSU President Tonga Hopoi at 7 o'clock right here on KBVR.